What's goody, everybody? Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about where we think Scoot Henderson's going to end up. Now, if you're not following my Instagram or subscribed on YouTube or following TikTok, I sent out a poll asking where Scoot Henderson should land. And it was just open response. Anyone could answer with any team. Now, I looked over a lot of the teams. I'm not a fan of a lot of the teams, but we're going to cover 9 teams, I think, 4 honorable mentions, and then the 5 best landing spots. Now, by no means, so I've been getting a lot of criticism. By no means am I saying this is exactly where he's going to end up or this is going to happen. This is just where I think, this is my personal opinion, as bold as it can be. This channel is called Bold Hoops. If you're going to come at me for making a bold take, then I honestly don't want you watching my video, since it's literally in the name. It's called Bold Hoops for a reason. But anyways, the spark of this video was because I saw that the New Orleans Pelicans were trying to trade for the rights to draft Scoot Henderson. And I guess you're going to find out where they are on this list. But without further ado, let's get into it. So before I get in any further on the list and whatnot, I just want to say I don't think there could have been 2 worse teams to get the 2nd and 3rd pick. Maybe if the Pistons got it, because they already have Caden Ivey. But I don't think there's a worse. Charlotte, they're stupid. They don't deserve the 2nd pick. They're pitiful. And then Portland has Dame. Now, I'm a big guy, when it comes to Dame. I'm one of his biggest supporters. He's top 3 point guard in the NBA. And it's not even close. He's top 3 point guard. By no means do I think Scoot Henderson is going to be better than Damian Lillard. But if you look at the roster that Portland has, you have Sharp. Now, I'm just going to talk about Sharp. Imagine Shaedon Sharp and Scoot Henderson as your future. Holy, these are 2 of the best players. Now, Shaedon Sharp is supposed to be in this draft class right now, and he very well could be. I think Shaedon Sharp is better than Brandon Miller. If you look at their prospects, they're both supposed to be in this draft class. I think Shaedon Sharp is better than Brandon Miller. So if you're Portland, I love Damian Lillard. I think if you could find a way to keep him, you should. But honestly, the more and more I think about it, if you could have Scoot and Sharp, who, if Sharp was in this draft class like he's supposed to be, they could honestly be the 2nd and 3rd overall picks. But to have them both on your team in the same, in different draft classes, I think this is complete. This is a perfect start. Now, I think Scoot and Lillard can play off ball, so I honestly would just look to trade Anthony Simons and then have a Scoot Henderson, because Scoot Henderson's a physical guy. It's not like he's going to get back down. He can hold his own defensively. He's going to be a good defender. And I'm sorry, I'm getting way off topic. I just want to say that about Portland. There is a world where you can have a 3-headed monster with Scoot, Sharp, and Lillard. But I don't think Lillard wants to play with those 2. But anyways, there's not a worse situation and for this draft lottery. When the draft lottery came out, we finally learned that Charlotte and Portland had the 2nd and 3rd picks. It was just really unlucky if you're Scoot Henderson. He's probably the biggest loser of the draft lottery. So I do have 4 honorable mentions on where Scoot could land up. Not for these 4 teams, but I'm going to let you know, for the top 5 teams, what they would need to do to get it done. So, there's going to be trades and whatnot, because I'm going to tell you right now, the Trailblazers and Hornets are not 1, 2, and 3. So, I'm just going to say that right now. But the first team I would like to see Scoot on is the Brooklyn Nets. But they want to keep Mikal Bridges, and that's what's going to keep it from happening. The Rockets are another team. They don't have anything of value besides the 4th pick to trade up with. And if if you're making a trade with Charlotte, what does the Rockets have that Charlotte Hornets want? You're not going to get enough value back. And that's really the biggest problem with anything involving like a Scoot Henderson trade, like to get pick 2 and 3. A lot of the teams that want Scoot Henderson don't have anything valuable enough to give to Charlotte or to Portland to get Scoot. If that doesn't make sense, then educate yourself. Charlotte and Houston could not make a trade, if I'm being honest. So that's just my personal problem with the Rockets trying to trade to 2. And then if the Rockets try to trade for pick 3 and you take them, you're only trading up one spot. I just don't know why the Rockets would do this, if I'm being honest, because they're going to have to give up too much to get one pick higher. And this draft class is kind of overrated, but I think there's some value to be had there. And then the Spurs was one that my friend sent in. They have, if they were going to take Scoot, they'd have to take him number 1. And because their roster is a sorry roster, let's just be honest. If they didn't have the number 1 pick, they would probably be like, what are we going to do? Like, they might have to enter I don't even know. They're terrible. If they didn't land the 1 pick, I don't know what I'd be saying about the Spurs. The Spurs would just be, I don't know what to say. They would just not be. They would probably lose to many G League teams. That's probably the best way I can put it. But so, like, that being said, they don't have any assets to trade up for pick 2 or 3, so they have to take Scoot number 1. And then, lastly, I got the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, I've seen that a lot. Karl-Anthony Towns to Portland. So this isn't going to be the number 2. Like, this is strictly Portland and Minnesota. Portland Trailblazers, if you trade for Karl-Anthony Towns, you might as well pencil yourself in for losing the next however many years that you're running with Cat and Dame. Neither can play defense. Both can score, but like, if you're trading Scoot Henderson for Karl-Anthony Towns, you need to relinquish your right to trade. That GM should get fired instantly. I'm sorry, but Scoot Henderson's value is way higher than Karl-Anthony Towns. Sorry, don't do it. And those are my honorable mentions. So at 5, can I get a drum roll, please? It's the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, I've already touched on this earlier, but I'll go through this quick. I'm a firm believer in that Damian Lillard is one of the best players in the NBA, but Portland, there comes a time where you got to do what's right for you. Me personally, I think I could be a great GM one day because, like, I just want to win. I don't care, like, what's necessary to do it. If Portland wants to win, they need to draft Scoot Henderson and trade Damian Lillard. And there's a world where it works out with Dame and Scoot on the same team, but I don't think Dame wants to be a part of that. But if you're going to trade Dame, you better get a young center, power forward, whatnot. Like, I would honestly look into trading Dame to the Suns and get an Ayton back, if I'm being honest, because you could have a nice team since Sharp is really good. I mean, I'm not as high on Simons, but he can be good, whatever. I'm just looking at this as Scoot and Shaedon Sharp. Very high on both of them. You're setting yourself up right if you go there. But who knows what Portland's going to do, because they haven't been able to get Dame help and they haven't been able to make smart moves for their organization. So whatever. Like, you traded CJ McCollum for Josh Hart, and then Josh Hart's not even on your roster anymore. Like, that's just the moves that are like, what are you doing? Like, let's be honest here. So Portland's at 5. Coming in at number 4 with the 2nd overall pick, the Charlotte Hornets. I'm going to be quite frank with y'all. Look into my eyes. I'm being straight serious right here. The Charlotte Hornets are idiots if they don't take Scoot Henderson with the 2nd overall pick and if they look to trade it. I don't care that you have LaMelo Ball, all right? Scoot Henderson should be number 1 overall pick this year. He'd probably be number 1 if he was in the year prior. He probably could have been number 1 last year. Like, well, not exactly last year, but like if he was in last year's draft class, he would probably be number 1. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, Paolo was supposed to go 3. There were so many uncertainties. Charlotte, if you don't take Scoot Henderson, honestly, y'all should be disowned as an organization of the NBA. Plain and simple. LaMelo Ball isn't a Luka Doncic type player. Luka is great. I don't like Luka, but I can admit he plays. He can win you series. Like he can carry you all the way, as he already has. He can carry you to the Western Conference Finals. Now I don't know what the hell happened in the regular season this year. That was very disappointing, but it was large part of your defense. But that's not even the point. LaMelo is not him. LaMelo will not be able to carry a team. LaMelo hasn't even made the playoffs. He can't stay healthy. He's unreliable. Just draft Scoot Henderson. That's all I'm going to say. Charlotte Hornets, number 4. Now, at number 3, I have the team that sparked this whole idea for this video. It's New Orleans Pelicans. They're the only team that I'm going to do, like, if they got the second pick or if they got the third pick, because I think there's a way where they can make a trade with Charlotte or Portland. But me personally, I just don't think this is going to work out. Now, in this trade that you see right here, it is the Pelicans and Trailblazers to get the third pick. Now, I think if you're Portland, the only way you trade the third pick to the Pelicans is for Brandon Ingram and Trey Murphy and the 14th pick. Since, let's be honest, Scoot Henderson has so much value. And, of course, I'm adding Anthony Simons to make the money work. Now, Pelicans fans and all NBA fans are going to be in my comment section if they're watching this and being like, oh, they'll never do this. You're like, yeah, I know they'd never do this because the Pelicans would be dumb to give up Trey Murphy, and the Trailblazers would be dumb to make a trade with a third pick without getting Trey Murphy. So this is the only logical trade I see, and I don't even like the trade. So I'm just going to go out here and say this. I know they're at number 3, the Pelicans, but in a world where they get them from the Trailblazers, I just don't like it because they'd have to give up Trey Murphy. Like, the only way I see the Trailblazers doing anything valuable is if they got Ingram and Zion. Like, that's how much value this pick has. Like, if I'm okay, I'm not gonna. That's gonna be a little bit of a spoiler, but you'll see. Like, you need a lot more value if you're giving up this third pick. Like, you're better off just keeping the third pick or keeping the second pick if you're Charlotte. But in this trade, you got Simons and the Scoot Henderson, presumably going to New Orleans for Ingram and Murphy and the 14th pick. Now, I like this trade better for the Blazers than I do for the Pelicans because, again, Trey Murphy, he's a star. Like, he's going to be really good. And then on the side, this next trade you see is for the Charlotte Hornets. Like, this trade's just stupid as well. I couldn't really figure out a good trade the Pelicans could make to get a Scoot. So, like, I just don't know. There has to be a 3-team trade if the Pelicans really want Scoot, because the Hornets and Trailblazers would be dumb. Now, if the Trailblazers got Trey Murphy and Brandon Ingram and the 14th pick, like, I'm doing that trade. That trade gets approved. I just don't think the Pelicans would do that. This trade right here is stupid. I don't even know why I made it. I guess just for the fun of it, but Valanciunas, Ingram, Daniels, and pick 14 to Charlotte for Gordon Hayward and the second pick. I don't see a world where the Pelicans can make a trade with the Hornets. Like, the Hornets are better off taking Brandon Miller with a second overall pick because Brandon Miller might just turn out to be Brandon Ingram. Like, let's just be honest here. And you wouldn't have to do as much to get there. And Brandon Ingram, injury prone, unreliable. And that's why Zion's not in either of these trades, since you can't rely on Zion to trade Scoot Henderson or the second or third pick for. That's just my complaints here. But let's go on to number 2. So my second team is the Toronto Raptors. Now, I don't know if y'all have heard me say this, but I'd really like to see Scoot Henderson in Toronto with Scotty Barnes, and the sky is the limit with that core, so to say. But if you're Portland, the only trade that justifies getting rid of the third pick with Toronto has to involve Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby, if you ask me. That is the only way you can trade the third pick to Toronto. I know this trade looks crazy because there's no Shaedon Sharpe. I wouldn't trade Shaedon Sharpe for either OG Anunoby or Siakam because I think Shaedon Sharpe's potential is higher than what you're getting with these two players. I would trade Simons and Nurkic. You have to trade to make the money work, but you'd give up 2 first-round picks this year. But this is the only realistic package with Toronto. Like, I'm not giving up the third pick just for Siakam to have 1 year. And then OG Anunoby, as good as he is and as high as his value is, I'm not trading the third pick just to get him in return. Like, no, that's stupid. So I'm just being honest here. Like, I'm not even sure like what is happening here, but like I just don't like this trade. I don't think it's realistic enough since I don't think Toronto would give up both of these players for this package, and I don't think that the Trailblazers should really give up more for these two players because Siakam's expiring and OG Anunoby is kind of overrated right now. Let's just be honest. Like, everyone is saying so much about him that he's becoming overrated. I'm going to be the one to say it. Like, he's becoming overrated. And then at number 1, I might have cracked the code for the boldest trade. By no means do I think this is going to happen because I don't think that the Hornets or the number 1 landing spot, the Orlando Magic, are going to be smart enough to do this trade. Now, in order for this to work, Magic would have to get rid of Fultz, Anthony. Suggs sucks. I don't care about Suggs. He sucks. But think about it this way. If you're the Orlando Magic, you have Scoot Henderson and Paolo Banchero on your team. Just think about that. Now, the trade, if you see it in front of you, I'm about to put it here. It's the Orlando Magic receiving the 2nd overall pick, which is Scoot Henderson, and Gordon Hayward, who's has a high contract, but is, what do you call it? Expiring? Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. In exchange for Jonathan Isaac, who knows, he could crack and finally do what he's supposed to do instead of being injured. Like, you can't hold the injuries against him. But the Hornets get picked 6 and 11. Charlotte Hornets, if you're not going to draft Scoot with the 2nd overall pick and you're going to take Brandon Miller, you might as well just make this trade right here and get a guy like Taylor Hendricks at 6. And then I don't even know who's going to be available at pick 11, but you can do so much more. Like, I love this trade. So that's just my thoughts. Because I think the Hornets are going to need more than just Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson. And if they're not going to draft Scoot Henderson with number 2, might as well take it and trade it away. And this trade gives you 2 picks back in return that are lottery picks and a very deep draft. And I'm really high on Taylor Hendricks. I think he'd be a good fit in Charlotte. So that's why I would make this move. And that's going to cap it off. So if you want to suggest any more players, I'm going to be coming out with a mock draft and a big board. I don't know how I'm going to do the mock draft because I don't think GMs are as smart as I am. So it's going to be very different from my actual prediction, or if you want me to make a bold mock draft or whatnot. But just let me know what you want to see. The big board, I'm just going to give it to you now. Like, I'm going to say it's going to be based on potential, like what their ceiling is. Like, I'm just going to place their ceiling and then rank their ceilings. All right. So as always, this has been Bold Hoops with Jay Hoopa. Thanks for watching. Bye.